Hi, I'm Paul Elam with A Voice for Men. My talk today is about how Republicans can win the 2016 presidential election with some fundamental changes to their strategy. It's no secret that Hillary's coming next year, and of course her campaign, above all others, will make the election about sex, or if you prefer the liberal misnomer, gender. The war on women rhetoric will ramp up, and it will again be a winning strategy for Democrats if Republicans respond to it as stupidly as they did in the last election. To get the corrective action going, we need to start with some basics, including some training for Republicans on what conservatism is versus what most of you seem to think it is. First, leave your traditional values, chivalry, and religion in the closet where it belongs. No, seriously, shut up about that shit. You see, pushing for small, unobtrusive government when you don't want nationalized health care or nationalize anything else is great. It is a true part of conservative values. So there's no point in shooting yourself and everyone else in the foot by wailing about keeping the government out of our lives, except when you want state functionaries to enforce your moral or religious values on everyone else. Shut up about gay marriage. In fact, if you understand the least little bit about conservatism, the only question you should be asking about marriage is why we allow the government to license it in the first place. It is a private matter, not a public one. Gay people have a right to keep the government out of their lives too. They also vote. Think about it. You can practice true conservatism and add to your rank and file simply by not being a hypocrite and by recognizing that by ignoring the corrupt family courts, you have done a lot more damage to marriage than gays could ever hope to accomplish. Do you know what Title 4D is? Well, of course you don't. You've been too busy being sanctimonious about gays intruding on your sacred institution that lost its sacredness the moment Ronald Reagan signed no-fault divorce into law in California. Next, end the war on drugs and quit getting bent out of shape if people get high. Quit acting like you saw reefer madness one too many times and drop the paranoid concern that someone somewhere might be toking it up and enjoying it. It's a private choice. So quit acting like a martini-sipping, hypocritical fascist and pull your head out. Lead the way on ending cannabis prohibition, using the conservative ideals of people like William F. Buckley, and you will bleed votes from Democrats. Ditch the likes of Tammy Bruce and at least a dozen other pundits. She's poison to conservative America. I called into her show once when she was discussing medical marijuana. She was actually mocking cancer patients seeking relief with cannabis. Why? Because she thought they might enjoy the buzz during chemotherapy. Is that your conservative values at play? Is that the government out of our lives? Should you perhaps do a double check on the meaning of small government? Now we come to a really big one. Where it concerns sexual politics, try learning what you are actually talking about and speaking to it with conviction. Personally, I've come to rely on the binders full of women style, inept responses of Republicans for entertainment value, but it's a shit strategy to counter the heavily gendered attacks from Democrats. Democrats, especially the likes of Clinton, will drive their campaign strategies on fraudulent talking points. The phony 1 in 5 rape statistic, the phony wage gap, phony rape culture, phony patriarchy, or the phony war on women and the like. It's time you started a dialogue with the great numbers of women who don't want to be portrayed as helpless victims and needy toddlers that Democrats make them out to be. They are out there in droves and they are starting to speak up. It is fair to assume that they don't know you even realize they exist. That brings us to one of the most critical changes that Republicans need to make if they ever hope to do anything but fail again. Instead of dodging these issues and coming up with weak, obsequious pleas for people to understand that Republicans love women too, start calling out the lies for what they are. Use mostly Republican women if you have to, but most of all, find your balls and take a direct, informed stand on the issues. Don't retreat. When they call you a misogynist or a traitor to women, mock and laugh at them. Do Republicans stop and wonder for a moment why someone like Donald Trump, a former Clinton supporter, is thrashing them so badly in the polls? Do they wonder why not a single professional Republican politician can even come close to his popularity? The answer is simple. Republicans lost their balls. The embarrassing lack of gumption in Republican candidates is a glaring neon sign that says weakness. People don't trust weak leaders. That is not conjecture. Research bears it out. Raymond Cattell, a pioneer in the field of personality assessment, developed the leadership potential equation in 1954. According to his research, the top traits of strong leaders are as follows. 1. Emotional stability. Good leaders must be able to tolerate frustration and stress. Overall, they must be well-adjusted and have the psychological maturity to deal with anything they are required to face. Does that sound like your average Republican today who might engage in tough rhetoric when it comes to terrorism, but who folds like a cheap suit when facing feminist lies? Item 2, dominance. Yes, dominance. I know that's an evil word in modern times, but that's what the research said. Leaders are oftentimes competitive and decisive and usually enjoy overcoming obstacles. Overall, they are assertive in their thinking style as well as their attitude in dealing with others. There's Donald Trump. There's his lead. Half of what he says might be bullshit, but at least he says that bullshit with conviction. It is resonating with voters. Item 3, social boldness. Leaders tend to be spontaneous risk takers. They are usually socially aggressive and generally thick-skinned. Overall, they are responsive to others and tend to be high in emotional stamina. At the risk of being redundant, there's Trump again. Bear in mind that Trump has been accused repeatedly of misogyny due to things he said. Now go look at his poll numbers again. It doesn't matter, folks. What will kill you politically is not saying controversial things, but in being milquetoast and cowardly. Finally, we have tough-mindedness. Good leaders are practical, logical, and to the point. They tend to be low in sentimental attachments and comfortable with criticism. They are usually insensitive to hardship and overall are very poised. How poised did Mitt Romney look standing there talking about binders full of women? How poised does any Republican look when confronted with sexually political bullshit? And no, thanking your mother or talking about how much you love your wife is not a poised reaction to gendered talking points from Democrats. It is a weak deflection proving you can't handle the topic. Finally, if you can't muster the spine to do anything else, for God's sake, pry yourself out of the Reagan-era 80s and bring yourself into the age of the internet. Democrats are killing you with social media. There are narrative-changing philosophical wars being waged almost entirely online, and Republicans are still talking through tin cans and string. Did you know that one of the most popular conservative voices in America is a gay dude who is more on fire than lit napalm? Mind you, he won't be your cup of tea in all cases because he seems to be an actual versus fake conservative. But he is still a great lesson for you if you're willing to pull the stick out of your behind and learn something. Take a look at the writings of Robert Stacey McCain, who actually understands and confronts the false narrative that keeps costing you elections. Christina Hoff Sommers with the American Enterprise Institute is another good example. Even though she remains destructively attached to the label of feminist, which explains why she still buys into some of the feminist lies, she is still at least tuned in to what is happening in the real world of everyday people. The bottom line is this, Republicans. In running against Hillary, you are running against feminism. So far, where it concerns feminism, you have been cowards and supplicants. Your only hope here is to take a stand on modern sexual politics and to fully join the growing vocal anti-feminist pro-freedom movement. In doing so, you will siphon votes from Democrats, inspire a more vocal base, and start showing the fortitude that actually comes with leadership skills. If you fail to do that, you might as well all resign and line up to vote for more lunatics running the asylum. Well, that's it for my talk today. If you want to support more of this programming from AVFM, please visit the link in the low bar and make a pledge to the Patreon page. Thank you for listening again, and see you next time.